and I don't even care if anyone calls me a Sally because I'm a snail and I never gonna fail. And you know what? You're gonna have to bail me out of jail.
Renowned director Rob Reiner and his spouse were caught off guard within their own residence. The single spot that's intended to seem invulnerable and secure. What occurred didn't feature an outsider or an intrusion. It featured an individual nearby, someone relied upon, and it turned their whole existence inside out. Rob dedicated years crafting tales of affection, kinship, and bonds. However, his personal existence was silently falling apart in private. His offspring, Nick Reiner,
That is totally falsified in every way.
had endured ongoing personal difficulties that were already burdening the household immensely. Yet, nobody foresaw how severe matters were set to get on the evening prior to the total breakdown. That is completely fabricated in all aspects. Authorities are currently re-examining previous remarks Nick previously shared regarding his dad. Declarations that appear ominous looking back. Those comments indicate the alerts weren't abrupt. They had lingered, hanging just below the exterior long prior to events spun wildly. The tragic event concerning Rob Reiner and his spouse, Michele Singer Reiner, happened on December 13, 2025. An evening meant to be cheerful, cozy, and brimming with festive cheer. Before that night, the pair joined a holiday gathering organized by Conan O'Brien, encircled by pals, known figures, chuckles, and festivity. But under the holiday glow and tunes, an unease lingered. Eyewitnesses subsequently informed detectives that a fierce dispute broke out between Rob and Nick, drawing focus instantly from the merriment. This wasn't a hushed quarrel murmured aside. It was boisterous, fierce, and unavoidable. Tones elevated, strains saturated the space, and attendees swapped anxious glances while the clash intensified. Multiple individuals afterward labeled Nick's conduct as disturbing, noting it lingered in memory well beyond the event's close. An element of that instance felt wrong.
Sometimes I just come out to gather my sick thoughts.
A single attendee later shared with detectives that Nick put everybody on alert, a term that rapidly circulated as officials started assembling the moments preceding the aftermath. At times I simply emerged to collect my twisted ideas. Rob didn't retreat or worsen the conflict. Rather, he confronted it directly, attempting to stabilize it and maintain command. Michele remained firmly at his flank throughout. The pair acted in unison, composed and solid, declining to allow the episode erupt openly. When they finally departed the gathering, it appeared neither theatrical nor hasty. It seemed intentional, akin to guardians opting to address an issue discreetly instead of permitting it to unfold publicly. To observers, it resembled two guardians striving to shield their kin and reclaim grip on a circumstance rapidly deteriorating. Afterward that identical evening, Rob engaged in a call with Eric Idle, and the vibe was entirely contrasting. Per Eric, the dialogue was breezy, optimistic, and centered on upcoming artistic endeavors, particularly the eagerly anticipated Spinal Tap follow-up. No trace of alarm, strain, or dread in Rob's tone. He came across as driven, optimistic, and entirely attuned to future prospects. But during calmer times prior to that evening, Rob had revealed something profoundly troubling to select trusted companions. He confessed he feared his own child. This wasn't voiced in rage or irritation. It stemmed from genuine terror, from a guardian sensing powerless, observing actions he couldn't govern. That confidential concern would shortly assume far graver significance after they got back home that night. During the wee hours of December 14th, a catastrophic event transpired within the Reiner residence in Brentwood.
They know the David who go on stage, who has his ways about him, but, they really want to know what's inside.
The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office subsequently verified the occurrence took place pre-dawn, although the precise instant remained indeterminable. By roughly 3 p.m., worry escalated to panic. Their offspring, Romy Reiner, residing opposite, visited to inspect after multiple efforts to contact them failed. Upon stepping inside, she sensed grave trouble and promptly summoned aid. Emergency responders and LAPD personnel hastened to the location, discovering both Rob and Michele lifeless. Officials swiftly locked down the property and initiated a comprehensive probe, handling it as a grave household matter right away. A key fact altered the entire scenario. No indications of compelled access existed anywhere. Entrances and panes remained whole, unmarred, and unaltered. They know that David who go on stage who has his ways about him, but they really want to know what's inside. That led to a single ominous deduction. The perpetrator didn't force entry. They were already present or admitted voluntarily. Residents nearby were interrogated, yet none mentioned detecting anything odd that evening. No alerts, no yells, no turmoil. In a serene Brentwood area where noise carries readily, that quietude seemed alarming alone. Detectives observed that the intruder navigated the dwelling stealthily and purposefully. No disarray, no evident fight, merely regulated actions, the sort solely achievable by one acquainted with the layout. While sleuths rebuilt the chronology, scrutiny swiftly focused on Nick Reiner. Per law enforcement logs, Nick departed the residence soon post-event and reached the Pierside Hotel in Santa Monica circa 4 a.m. on December 14th. Lodge personnel later informed cops his manner seemed utterly typical. He registered composedly, communicated lucidly, and displayed no overt agitation.
The geniuses, the brilliant ones, the people, I'm referring to myself.
No frenzy, no trembling, no bewilderment. Nonetheless, following Nick's departure, detectives inspected the suite and allegedly uncovered proof linking him straight to the Brentwood occurrence. That lone find positioned him firmly within the probe's pivotal sequence. His lodging duration was short. In mere hours, he vanished once more, advancing swiftly, resembling one avoiding prolonged stays. Subsequently that day, monitoring video recorded Nick at a fuel stop close to Exposition Boulevard and Vermont Avenue. Footage depicted him entering leisurely, snatching a beverage, settling, and exiting unhesitatingly. He seemed unhurried or anxious. All aspects of his bearing appeared serene, managed, and routine. That composure contrasted starkly with what detectives thought had transpired already. By approximately 9:15 p.m. on December 14th, authorities pinpointed him near Exposition Park, mere paces from the University of Southern California grounds. Squad vehicles encircled the zone in a strained yet managed maneuver, occurring amid onlookers. Nick offered no opposition. He didn't flee. He remained mute and adhered to all directives from officers. In moments, Nick was detained sans defiance. No clash, no theatrical episode, merely quiet and restraints clicking locked. The geniuses, the brilliant ones, the people. I'm referring to myself. By that evening's close, detectives ceased speculating. They linked elements forming a troubling design throughout Los Angeles. A fiery dispute, a creepily quiet residence, absent forced ingress, a rapid vanishing, and an odd path extending from Brentwood to Santa Monica and further.
We're close to making a deal that will, of course, make him the worldwide star that he deserves to be.
$50 million on the line, and they were like practically just jacking me off the whole time.
Yet, a single query persisted stubbornly. What truly transpired within that dwelling? That's when the inquiry transitioned to a gloomier, more intricate stage. After securing the Brentwood property, forensic squads entered, systematic and unyielding, resolved to reveal what observers and locals couldn't clarify. Each chamber, each plane, each element underwent meticulous scrutiny. Then arrived the vital duty, solidifying the schedule. Lacking internal cameras and definite markers, detectives depended solely on science. Heat measurements, bodily signs, tiny remnants. Nothing escaped notice. A single ominous inquiry directed each action. When did Rob and Michele Reiner perish? And how did it genuinely occur? To resolve that, detectives concentrated on corporeal traces remaining. Muscle rigidity and blood-pooling configurations turned essential hints. After cardiac arrest, these indicators aid forensic specialists in gauging duration of demise. And here, the outcomes proved eerie. The coroner determined both Rob and Michele expired in the pre-dawn period, almost 12 hours pre-discovery. That schedule matched flawlessly with detective suspicions from relocations and accounts. The calamity happened amid the night's most hushed interval when the locale slumbered oblivious to issues. That hush wasn't merely spooky. It proved essential for grasping how all transpired uninterrupted. Next, the probe addressed the wounds directly. Forensic pros recorded numerous sharp trauma wounds, a formal phrase for lacerations from edged implements. These weren't remote or inadvertent. They occurred at intimate proximity. This involved direct confrontation at arm's length, immediate touch necessitating iterative strikes. You know, we're nearing an agreement that will naturally position him as the global icon he merits. 50 million at stake, and they were essentially just stroking me throughout. What astonished detectives wasn't solely the wound characteristics, but their quantity. Proof indicated it didn't conclude swiftly. It persisted beyond anticipation, revealing a ferocity that astounded veteran forensic pros. This wasn't an isolated burst of disorder. It denoted prolonged effort. Legally, recurrence counts. Detectives avoid emotional conjecture. They analyze proof. And here, discovery strongly suggested purpose, a choice to persist over halting. After those deductions, Nick Reiner faced formal accusations of dual first-degree killings, one per guardian. In California, first-degree indictments denote the gravest category for instances presumed to entail premeditated conduct. But accusers went further. They appended exceptional conditions owing to plural casualties, a label that promptly raised the matter to the utmost judicial level feasible. This wasn't merely emblematic. It redefined all aspects of case progression. With exceptional conditions linked, possible repercussions turned the severest permitted legally. If found guilty, Nick might endure lifelong confinement sans release or the utmost sanction obtainable, based on judicial direction. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office clarified this represented their toughest accusation possible. Their declaration conveyed total assurance in forensic discoveries and the juridical basis supporting the claims. Then, the matter formally evolved from calamity to among the fiercest juridical conflicts the metropolis had witnessed lately. Detectives possessed a fixed chronology, a distinct order, a verified origin, and proof of intimate prolonged interaction. When Nick first faced a magistrate, the burden struck immediately. The stiff tribunal, the hush, even his simple attire rippled shocks among attendees. This wasn't standard attendance. It marked a pivotal shift. On December 17, 2025's morn, Nick Reiner entered a Los Angeles tribunal escorted for his preliminary session. Till then, the matter existed solely via dispatches and formal declarations. But now, it accessed the open juridical sphere. From then, each uttered term joined the enduring archive. The tribunal secured rigidly. No recorders, no streaming, no transmission whatsoever. Merely a compact assembly of journalists, lawyers, and judicial staff permitted entry to observe directly. Those limits weren't coincidental. They existed pre-Nick's arrival and held steady during, emphasizing the case's gravity. When portals parted and Nick Reiner advanced inward, sheriff's aides directed him directly to the advocacy bench. My throat is drying a bit due to the extent I'm chatting with you all, but this I mean, we haven't truly explored anything profound. So, the space grew utterly mute. Each stride, each gaze, each gesture abruptly seemed weighty. This wasn't merely a juridical procedure's onset. It marked the instant Brentwood's subtle enigma formally became a tribunal confrontation. Nearly at once, folks observed Nick's attire. A harm prevention garment, the type employed in elevated risk detention scenarios. It stood evident, undeniable, and inescapable. Oddly, nobody uttered a syllable on it. The magistrate ignored it. The lawyers omitted it. The session proceeded as though absent. That muteness resonated stronger than any remark might. As proceedings commenced, the tribunal settled into absolute immobility. The accusations were vocalized in frigid, clinical, juridical terms. Dual counts of first-degree killing, one linked to his dad and one to his mom. No sentiment, no clarification, merely legal gravity descending phrase by phrase. When the magistrate inquired if he grasped his entitlements, Nick replied with a brief, serene affirmation. That concluded it. The sole instance he verbalized throughout the session. No admission, no inquiries, no apparent response to the claim's severity. He remained immobile, gaze ahead, face neutral, resembling one isolated from the instant, attentive, restrained, indecipherable. Post-accusation recitation, the session pivoted to arrangements. Nick's advocacy counsel sought a postponement of the indictment to grant additional duration pre-plea entry. The magistrate consented unreservedly, and scheduled a fresh tribunal date for January 7, 2026. The accusers raised no protest. No debates, no spectacles, merely protocol advancing. By session's end, one fact stood evident. This matter barely commenced. The strain within that tribunal conveyed more than any declaration could. Then a further element struck watchers intensely. Positioned next to Nick stood his advocacy lawyer, Alan Jackson. The title itself bore substantial influence in juridical realms. Jackson wasn't a standard engagement. He was a tribunal titan renowned for managing prominent cases amid unceasing public examination. Across years, he had defended some of the most disputed personas conceivable, encompassing Kevin Spacey, Harvey Weinstein, and Karen Red. That selection transmitted a distinct message. This wasn't a temporary safeguard or brief tactic. It was strategic, intentional, and designed for prolonged combat. It informed all observers that Nick's juridical squad prepared for intense inspection, infinite submissions, and an extended struggle where each element faced contest phrase by phrase. As the session concluded, Nick exited escorted identically as entered, mute, protected, and sans any peek at the media. No declarations issued, neither from accusers nor safeguards. Within the tribunal, journalists murmured and hurried to digest the witnessed. Moments later, the space neared vacancy once more. But beyond those barriers, the genuine hum ignited rapidly. By that afternoon, focus turned to a persistent query that lingered. Who financed this safeguard? Juridical experts grasped the truth. A matter entailing dual first-degree killing accusations with exceptional conditions could extend years. Such matters demand specialist testimonies, thorough forensic assessments, and infinite preliminary requests. Expenses accumulate swiftly. Millions evaporate pre-trial initiation. Approximations indicated assembling a safeguard of this level could readily surpass $1 million pre-jury choice. And this deepened the enigma. Nick Reiner lacked any recognized ongoing profession or revenue source explaining such enormous juridical expense coverage. That void ignited prompt conjecture. Whispers circulated swiftly in media spheres. Certain experts subtly proposed funds tied to the Reiner kin holdings might cover the expense, and that prospect layered another disturbing stratum on a matter already unrelenting. Nearly at once, fresh queries surged beyond the tribunal. Folks started questioning if employing kin-linked resources for such safeguard was lawful. Inheritance law specialists opined swiftly, clarifying the matter lacks simplicity. In certain instances, communal or bequeathed properties can fund juridical fees. In others, it may provoke significant conflicts, juridical disputes, or resistances from remaining kin. Regulations vary by asset arrangement and control authority. Within the tribunal, however, none arose. The magistrate omitted querying fund origins. The safeguard volunteered no clarification. Formally, the topic remained unrecorded. Externally, it differed. The discussion proliferated rapidly. Some contended every individual, regardless of allegation, merits the robustest safeguard feasible. Others felt profoundly disturbed by the notion that kin-tied assets might shield the charged. While juridical proceedings remained frigid and methodical internally, sentiments raged externally. Even inside the Reiner kin, matters reportedly lacked resolution. Informants asserted certain kin avoided sole emphasis on penalty. Rather, they desired Nick obtain substantial psychological care concurrent with criminal proceedings. For them, the scenario transcended accusations. It concerned decades of lingering problems ultimately detonating. The matter advanced past statutes and proof dossiers. It entangled in queries of kin duty, ethical boundaries, and justice's true form. Nonetheless, none of those accounts gained formal validation. No submissions, no affirmed declarations, nothing verifiable. From accusers' perspective, the stance stayed constant. They held steadfast that proof backed the gravest accusations feasible. They highlighted the incident's brutality and Nick's subsequent relocations, contending both satisfied juridical criteria. Since the matter involved plural casualties, penalty choices were severely restricted. If guilty, Nick Reiner confronted merely dual legal results: enduring lockdown sans liberation prospect or the system's utmost retribution. No lesser alternatives existed under these accusations. It reached maximum gravity. Concurrently, the matter progressed subtly backstage. sleuths persisted examining elements. Lawyers honed tactics, and undisclosed data flowed among probe intimates. All participants recognized the subsequent stage would weigh heavier. The tribunal might appear tranquil, but underneath, tension mounted swiftly, and soon it clarified that Nick Reiner wouldn't stay mute eternally. In ensuing days, focus turned to prior utterances pre-court arrival, terms now bearing fresh gravity, declarations reshaping many's perception of the full narrative. Nick once discussed his youth candidly, conceding he never sensed genuine closeness to his dad, Rob Reiner. He portrayed an effective gap molding his familial self-view. He claimed he frequently sensed like an external in his dwelling, observing others bond, chuckle, and exchange instances, while he lingered peripherally, uncertain of integration. Per all reports, Rob proved a loyal and attendant dad, prosperous, engaged, and profoundly dedicated to his kin. He forged solid ties with his remaining offspring via habits, pursuits, and mutual encounters. But for Nick, those identical arenas never fully aligned. The dwelling appeared steady externally, but inwardly he sensed detached. It wasn't Rob's neglect. If anything, he strived to supply all possible. But extended labor and achievement can forge effective voids unintentionally. Nick matured enveloped in attention, but he subsequently conceded that attention didn't consistently contact him. That subtle seclusion trailed him into adulthood. Rather than feeling anchored domestically, he sought affiliation externally, attracted to settings offering evasion over framework. That's when drug involvement began. What commenced minor swiftly escalated. By mid-adolescence, his issues were sufficiently acute for expert intervention. His kin concealed nothing nor refuted it. They pursued assistance repeatedly, striving to extract him from an escalating hold. Nick subsequently conceded the drugs proved potent and ruinous, trapping him in an intensifying loop over time. Progress intervals sparked kin optimism. Then regressions ensued, shattering it repeatedly. And those protracted, unsettled issues would shortly gain a wholly altered perspective. Whenever Nick appeared to secure stability, the decline struck fiercer. His existence reverted to volatility. Repeatedly, he wandered states, Maine, New Jersey, Texas, frequently sans stable anchorage or genuine order. These weren't vocational shifts or renewals. They were endurance phases rife with doubt and disorder. Throughout, Rob and Michele Reiner never abandoned. They remained attendant, committed, and declined to forsake their offspring. Across years, they addressed his issues openly, never faulting externals, never concealing facts, and never evading accountability. They invested all, duration, tolerance, affection, and means, numerous recovery schemes, ongoing aid, communications, verifications, and fresh opportunities per stumble. Once, Rob attempted an alternate method. He integrated Nick into filmmaking. In 2015, they collaborated on Being Charlie, a venture sourced straight from Nick's issues. Temporarily, matters seemed altered. Nick possessed order, aim, guidance. Kin intimates noted he appeared firmer, more attentive, resembling one finally anchored. But that firmness endured not. Prior habits resurfaced. Separation, irregularity, and downfall. Each regression struck harsher, exhausting not solely Nick, but surroundings. Gradually, worry morphed to dread. What once seemed controllable ceased. Per kin intimates, the concern transcended recovery. It involved security. That effective gap Nick described from youth never mended fully. Affection blended guilt. Optimism blended letdown. Decades of endeavor never fully linking. Nah. By that holiday gathering, the strain wasn't novel. It accumulated years. That dispute wasn't arbitrary. It marked a fracture. In subsequent days, the kin communicated via combined note from Romy and Jake Reiner. Their terms avoided juridical fights or guesses. They addressed solely sorrow, astonishment, and affection. They requested seclusion. And thereafter, they stayed mute. No dialogues, no communal showings. A confidential commemoration ensued. No lenses, no display, merely recollection, linkage, and serene contemplation. Throughout Hollywood, homages surged, not merely for Rob's creations, but his character. A reliable figure, a dependable guide, one who ensured others' creative security. And now the query directs to you. What do you believe truly occurred? Do you think Nick Reiner bears blame? or exists more to this tale? Express your views and remarks. If this analysis proved useful, endorse the clip and join for additional thorough explorations into prominent Hollywood matters.